last year that I had the great privilege to moderate the fireside chats remotely with Sergey. So now the real Sergey is here. I'm just super excited. In fact, I think before we start, I just didn't get a chance to tell you just now, Sergey, was that last year after our session, so I went down to the audience and talked to some of particularly the crypto native, the digital asset crowd. And our session was the best in the eyes for two reasons. And the comment was, Sergey is a straight talker. You speak your mind. So basically, all the things that you believe in, you just showed it. And this is something that the audience truly appreciate. And secondly, is that you are truly a visionary. That the things that you've been looking at years ago, now gradually playing out. So being able to sort of listen to you again to help us understand how this market is going to evolve going forward is also a treat to our audience.
Great to be here. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Now, so I guess to start with, just to warm up, I understand that Sergey, you've been traveling quite a lot to Asia, to a number of the major hubs. Yeah. So can you help us to understand better about how your current view is about the Hong Kong market?
I think the size of the Hong Kong market and the volume that the Hong Kong market commands is the biggest in Asia. And I think that the digital asset trend is reformatting volume into the blockchain format, right? So just logically, if you do a basic calculation and ask yourself, if I take a market and I believe that 10 or 20% of the assets or the volume or the transactions will be in a blockchain format, what's the most attractive market for me in Asia? Just by the very basic arithmetic, Hong Kong is the most attractive market, just because the numbers are there, basically. The other thing that's attractive about Hong Kong is the regulatory regime, how open-minded and forward-looking the regulatory kind of agencies are and their representatives, and how much guidance has been released by them in favor of stable coins, in favor of various kind of innovations in the digital asset space. Mm-hmm. So now you have two very, very strong factors of big market, very open, forward-looking, progressive regulatory regime. That's two very powerful pros. And then you have a third big factor that I think about a lot, which is all the money in China that has historically found its way into the Hong Kong market under a set of controls and under a set of limitations, but it's still an immense amount of money. And I think the current system sees Hong Kong as the natural place for that money to flow. So you're not even talking about the money that is in the system now. You're talking about, possibly more money from mainland China flowing into the Hong Kong financial sector. So all three of these things are like very powerful, inescapable forces in favor of Hong Kong's position as a digital asset hub. And from the conversations I've had with people in Hong Kong, the concept of being a hub is important. And so I think this direction towards a hub is something Hong Kong is going to pursue and be successful at.
Well, thank you for the observations. And that also make us all very excited. Now, I guess the other question I'd like to hear your views is that obviously Chainlink is known for your Oracle service, in which you see a lot of data, you work with a lot of stakeholders around the world. You truly have that global view. Now, and also you are now, this year, to my understanding from you and your colleagues, you have a very strong focus to try to connect the TradFi world with the Web3 world. Mm. Now, so with blockchain being that sort of conduit, so how do you see that the Asian and global markets are being connected? So what's your observation?
So one of the big advantages of blockchains, especially in the public chain world, is that they're inherently global. So one of the reasons that DeFi, various tokens, cryptocurrencies, tokenized financial products have grown so quickly is because when you launch a financial product in the traditional world, you have to launch it in that specific market only, to those people in that market only. So your market size is constrained. When you launch a financial product or a cryptocurrency or a token onto at least a public chain, you have a global market. Now, the thing that's been missing from that global market is the value that is stuck in institutions, sometimes in very traditional formats. The challenge then is, how do you take the global nature of blockchain technology and how do you extend it to be accessible to traditional financial institutions and their users? So how does a traditional financial institutional user in Dubai purchase a token generated in Hong Kong under your framework? And how do they do that from a regulated institution? And then how does an institutional user in Hong Kong purchase some token in some other jurisdiction and then bring it back into their wallet or into their institution in Hong Kong, right? That is where the crypto industry goes from being about 2.5 to 3 trillion to tens of trillions in value, is when all of that institutional capital that's locked in existing systems is able to enter and interact with blockchains. What we fundamentally do is we unlock all of that capital to move in and out and between blockchains by creating connectivity between the blockchains and between the institutional systems and blockchains, right? So the first problem you're going to have is, how do I get my institution's system to make an account on a chain, to generate a transaction, to move value from a user account into a blockchain account? And then the second problem will be, how do I interact with multiple chains? Then you'll have a lot of other problems along the way, like identity problems, market data problems, all kinds of data and identity and connectivity problems, all of which we solve also. So the real challenge for us is not just continuing to power the majority of DeFi. We already power the majority of the DeFi trend, and Chainlink has grown the DeFi trend from sub 100 million to over 200 billion throughout that time and up until now, from the beginning until now, powering the majority of DeFi and continue to power the majority of DeFi. But even if DeFi is 100 billion or a 200 billion or a 300 billion or a $500 billion market, in the wider scheme of the financial industry, that's really not big enough. Mm-hmm. And so the only way that DeFi and public chains and real world assets and all of these innovations that we're so excited about go to the next level is by users, of HSBC, users of Hang Seng Bank, users of large institutions being able to put their value into those financial products securely and efficiently. That's kind of the next stage of our industry for it to really grow. So that's kind of the project we've undertaken.
Well, I think for those of you who may not know about Chainlink enough, I have to say that this is a company with a leader that I had the privilege to watch up close and personal in Barcelona, the SmartCon, over a year ago. And I'm not joking. For those of you who attended, you can also validate this. So when Sergey was sharing his views about how he would like to break or solve some really hard problems, and then when you announced the plans, I still remember I was in the audience. There were several standing ovations from the builders who've been following Chainlink for some time. Now, I'm not sure about you. I've been to a lot of events. I would rarely see people give standing ovation in a speech. Okay, so this is really speaking volumes about the things that Sergey and his team try to solve. Now, of course, I think some time ago, I lost track of time. But then I remember when I first heard of Chainlink trying to marry or cross over Web3 with TradFi, people were like, what? There's a really tough thing to crack. The next thing we know, I think we saw that you guys are collaborating with Swift. People are like, wow, that's amazing. So can you help update our audience about how that collaboration is happening? Who are the other TradFi people coming in? And so you give us a quick update.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Just really quick, shameless plug and advertisement. SmartCon that you attended last year is actually this year in Hong Kong, and it's actually this week, and it's happening Wednesday and Thursday of this week at the Kerry Hotel in the financial center of Hong Kong. So if you're interested in these topics, you're welcome to join us there. That's this week on Wednesday and Thursday, if you want to see more of what I'm discussing here. Yeah, the work with Swift has been in the works for over 7 years. We did 2 public pilots. The second public pilot was released last year. This year, last week at Sibos, which is Swift's big conference, which was in Beijing this year, we kind of showed a working demonstration of how this would work in a production setting. So how would the actual Swift network interact with actual blockchains and use Swift messages that are the most widely accepted financial standard across all banks and financial institutions, with over 11,000 banks and financial institutions on that standard. How does that messaging standard interact with blockchains? And this is a very good example of a practical implementation of what we just spoke about a minute ago, where if you're in an institution and you've been using Swift messages to sign transactions about payments, about assets, about all kinds of events for the last 30, 40, 50 years, which is how long that's been happening, then it's a lot easier for you to just continue using those Swift messages if you could ever get them to be used on a blockchain. So the logical next step there is, how do we get existing standards like Swift to be used for interactions with a blockchain? And that's the body of work that we demonstrated in its pre-production form, where we showed how it's actually going to work in production and how it would eventually be used in live trials and how it would be utilized by these big banks and institutions. So that was a really big kind of event and a big milestone for us, because the next step beyond that will be, live trials and usage and real adoption of that service. That's what we're hoping for and pushing for at this point. But it's a very big milestone, and I think if you can actually get even a small percentage of those 11,000 banks and institutions to start interacting with blockchains in an efficient, secure way, the market size of the blockchain industry, whether it's a public chain or a private chain, whether it's an RWA or a tokenized fund or a stablecoin, the market size kind of really explodes from there, right? So it just kind of goes from a few trillion to tens of trillions, and it's really the path to hundreds of trillions. So I think that's really good work that we did, and it's made a lot of progress in a very short amount of time, because if you look at what we put out for the pilot last year versus the demonstration we did at Sibos this year, it's a huge improvement in getting to production and getting to something that can actually work with real systems. And it's a huge kind of leap forward. So it was very positive, and I'm very hopeful about the direction this is going in right now.
Well, I'm conscious of time, but I have so many things I want to ask you, Sergey. So perhaps I will just have another question to kind of wrap up our fireside chat today. And that is, from your perspective, what kind of asset classes, or maybe assets in particular, that you see would benefit the most from tokenization?
I think one of the most positive things I've seen in a while in our industry is that the asset managers are now pushing the adoption of digital assets. In the capital markets, in the banking industry, the whole point of the system is really to service asset owners, which are like sovereign wealth funds and the end owners, and asset managers, which are kind of an intermediary between the asset owners and the financial system. So historically, when asset management firms begin to push a technology or a trend, that trend starts to get adoption from everybody else down in the value chain. The banks, the financial market infrastructures, everybody. And that's what we see with the tokenization of funds. So BlackRock's BUIDL, Fidelity's funds, some of which Chainlink powers live on production. These kind of levels of adoption by asset managers, I think, have started a next stage in the adoption of digital assets and blockchain technology by the whole industry. So I think tokenized funds are going to continue to grow. I think real world assets, so the tokenization of real estate, carbon credits, those things. And I think stablecoins. Stablecoins, eventually every bank will end up making a stablecoin, and it'll be used as a common form of payment backed by central bank digital currency or by private reserves. So I think those are the three categories that I'm really seeing.
That's great. Now, I think that this is something that hopefully can be very helpful and insightful to you. Because in many ways, when I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, Sergey, they've been sort of playing around with different assets, to tokenize them as a POC. But sometimes I was like, well, are they really betting on the right direction? So I think what we just shared is something that hopefully, if we got some entrepreneurs in the audience, they can help you, the comment from Sergey can help you narrow down the focus. Now, I guess just as a final comment, because I see that time is up, is also a shout out to all of you. If you have already signed up to SmartCon, great, I'll see you there. I'll be there Wednesday and Thursday too. Now, but if you haven't, then definitely look me up on the LinkedIn. You can easily find me on LinkedIn, ping me, and I'll try to sort out tickets for some of you, because we are a very close partner with SmartCon Chainlink. So that's why we are definitely fully supportive. So ping me. And if not, the last channel is, in case I'm not responding to your request fast enough, fintech@investhk.gov.hk. fintech@investhk.gov.hk is the email. Just the email and we'll get sorted out. Now, the reason why this is so important is because, as I was discussing with Sergey's team, like Todd and the other folks, in planning out to have SmartCon in Hong Kong, is because while we are very proud about the Hong Kong FinTech Week being that gathering place for everybody to learn all these new trends, but we feel that we don't have enough depth on the technology side, the technical side, that we can cater to the builders, the engineers, the developers community. So that's why while the FinTech Week is more broad, more commercial centric, then the SmartCon is a combination, both commercial and also very deep tech conversation. So you want to learn more about it, or if you're builders yourself, this is definitely an awesome event to go there and meet with some like-minded people. And with that, this is really our great privilege to have Sergey with us in person this time, and also have SmartCon in Hong Kong. This is really a blessing for our broader community in Hong Kong. So I just want to thank you. So again, can we have a big round of applause to Sergey? Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.